If you're new to the channel, welcome, and if you're a returning viewer, you'll notice there is finally something on that bulletin board behind me. We are counting down the days until Pro Tour New Jersey, as I was able to secure my Pro Tour invite the opening weekend of this ProQuest season. There will be a link in the description to the deck tech and tournament report I did with the Card Guyz after that tournament, but today I want to focus on the 16 hours of testing I had last week against Bravo Star the Show, and kind of outline my thoughts and opinions on how Rhinar can approach that matchup. So let's get into it. I want to begin by discussing three main weaknesses I see with the deck. The first one being that it can have turns where even with a 5-card hand, the most it can really do is come in for 5 to 7 damage and that's it. The second major weakness being that the more awakening, pulverize, spinal crushes, defense reactions that they bring in, the less likely they are to actually activate the text on the hero card itself. And the last weakness I want to mention is the deck very rarely wants to block with 2 cards unless it has a tunic on 3 counters. Now on to the many strengths of this Bravo Star the Show deck. The deck is highly disruptive with cards like Old, Spinal Crush, Crippling Crush, and Pulverize. The deck is also very hard to play control against because it leaks so much damage through all its dominated attacks. The deck is also challenging to race because if you ever get behind with it, you can always just play Awakening and then grab your Pulverize. And then the last thing is the deck can find its threats very quickly since it has access to Crown of Seeds. So what about Rhinar gives me hope against Bravo Star the Show? Well, let me lay out one scenario for you here. Let's say that they come in with an Old Fuse for 11, dominate, go again. We're able to play a red unmovable from Arsenal and then block it with a card from hand for a total of 11. So we block out that attack without having to use any equipment. And then they come in with the Winter's Well and are able to block that with any 3 block from hand, take 1 damage and get a Frostbite. In a 4-card hand in an Arsenal situation for us, that means we have 1 card left over. If it is a blue or even a yellow and we have Spring Tunic on 3 counters, we get to come back from this hit with a weapon swing and probably be able to get in 2 points of damage. 2 points of damage because they'll soak up 1 damage with Crown of Seeds and then 1 damage with their shield. So in this exchange, they did 1 damage to us and we did 2 damage to them, and both players probably doing this off of a 4-card hand and an Arsenal. So we can actually come out better than them on one of their best turns. The next tool I want to mention is barraging beatdowns into club swings. It's going to be very rare that Bravo Star the Show is going to want to block with 2 cards from hand if they don't have the 3 counters on their tunic. Because if they block with 2 cards from hand, then they don't have enough cards left over to activate Bravo on their turn, unless they have the 3 counters on Tunic. So even if they block with 2 cards and they don't have the counters on Tunic, you just took tempo away from them because they can't activate their hero's ability. So we're able to, most of the time, leak in 6 to 8 damage off of a barraging beatdown into a club swing. And at the worst case, we are able to take them off tempo. Like I said, this works for every case except for when they have the 3 counters on Tunic. So this is a situation we should try to leverage. And the last advantage I want to talk about is the fact that with Intimidate, we're actually able to possibly grab their Awakening out of their hand before they're able to play it, while we're coming in for these giant hits for damage that would put them behind in life total. So we actually can nullify the threat of their Awakening through Intimidate. The solution against Bravo Star the Show is going to be complex. It's going to be quite a challenge from a deck building and from a strategy perspective, because you're going to need to have a deck that can keep pace and damage, be able to handle all the disruption they're going to throw at you, but also maintain tempo against them the majority of the game. With that said, my deck list for my 16 hours of testing against Bravo Star the Show will be in the description. Keep in mind, this is still in testing and is not the solution to this deck. The plan is to win every exchange by a small margin until I can find a window to close out the game, ideally in the first cycle of our deck, while they're drawing to the second cycle of their deck that'll have less Bravo activations because it'll primarily just be Ice and Lightning cards, because a lot of the Earth cards get played out as attack actions. Reinforce the Line has really impressed me, and I think that Rally the Regard may actually be playable in this matchup because it works as a pummel target and also as discard fodder because it's still a 6. There's an interesting line you can do where you can actually discard Beast Within to rally the rear guard, and it'll trigger Beast Within because it went into your discard pile, not from the combat chain. And also, if you combine Reinforce the Line, Rally the Rear Guard together, you can actually block a dominated attack for 9. I want to reiterate, this isn't the solution or counter to Bravo Star the show. This is just a snapshot of where I'm currently at in that testing process and a broad outline of some of the theories that are showing some promise. So be sure to follow along to my horrific failure or possible success against this deck this ProQuest season. Either way, I'm looking forward to the challenge.